Donald Trump continues to find ways to hit new lows, new rock bottoms, whether it be with his historically bad approval rating, which continues to tumble, or the nature of the scandals coming out of this administration getting more shocking and more embarrassing for Donald Trump, which is what we just saw in the latest disaster out of this White House, and which a leaked call revealed just the embarrassing nature of Donald Trump's latest screw-up and his latest lie that he was caught in. We are going to get into all of it, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, the nature of this latest scandal out of the Trump White House is around Donald Trump's tariffs. So before we get into it, I want to hear a little bit from Rachel Maddow on what's contributing to the lie that Donald Trump just told.
So yeah, what was that? What was the headline in the Post tonight again? Are things falling apart for Trump? Yep. Yep. On every front. And I mean the top line takeaways in terms of how the country feels about him, it's just brutal. I mean, in that Pew poll, his overall approval-disapproval number is -19. He is 19 points underwater while he is still in his first 100 days in office. He is 19 points underwater in terms of overall approval versus disapproval. That's crazy. This is the headline Pew put on its article presenting the results of its poll, which makes it seem like even they were a little shocked. Quote, Trump's job rating drops. Key policies draw majority disapproval as he nears 100 days. Outlets like CNBC are pulling results from that poll to show not just how bad things are for Trump right now as he approaches 100 days, but also how quickly he is dropping over time. Quote, Americans' confidence in President Donald Trump's ability to manage the U.S. economy has plummeted since he has regained the White House. According to a new Reuters Ipsos survey, just 37% of Americans approve of Trump's handling of the economy. That's a rating lower than at any point during his first term in office. A new Pew Research Center survey also found that less than half of U.S. adults, 45%, have confidence in Trump's ability to make good decisions about the economy. That represents a 14-point drop from the same poll in November of last year. And again, that's whether people have confidence in Trump's ability to make good decisions about the economy. He's well below 50%. He's at 45%, but that's a 14-point drop just from November. CNBC, quote, those polls follow a CNBC All-America Economic Survey released earlier this week, which also registered Trump's lowest economic approval ratings of his entire White House career. Ta-da! He is tanking. He is tanking on the stuff he wants to be known for and on everything else. And he is tanking in general, and he is tanking in the specific.
This is the worst the American public has ever perceived Donald Trump to be around the issue of the economy. And it is the same with immigration as well. Donald Trump's signature issue, the one he said was the biggest focus of his campaign, he is also underwater. It's the reason why I have been calling for elected Democrats to seize on this opportunity to just do the right thing and speak out on behalf of Abrego Garcia and every other person who has had their human rights stripped from them, their due process taken away, illegally shipped to El Salvador. Not only is it the morally right thing to do, it is the politically right thing to do. And it is the same with calling out Donald Trump's tariffs. This issue is absolutely crushing him, and it's the reason he's lying about it, and he got caught. But first, we got to check out what he had to say right here that explains this whole situation.
Mr. President, you said that you have spoken to President Xi. When did that happen? China says it hasn't happened.
I spoke to him numerous times. So we're leaving and going to Rome, where we'll be attending the funeral of Pope Francis. Some of you are going to go. Anybody going? And it's going to be very interesting. We're going to meet with a lot of the foreign leaders. They want to meet. Trade deals are going very well. I think Russia and Ukraine, I think they're coming along, we hope. It's very fragile. And Iran, I think, is going very well. We'll see what happens. We're working on plenty of things that shouldn't be worked on because none of this stuff should have happened This should have been taken place by Biden. It should have been fixed by Biden, but he couldn't do it, nor could he come close to doing so.
So in an effort to try and save himself or save a little bit of face publicly, Donald Trump is saying that he is regularly speaking with the Chinese. He is regularly speaking with Xi Jinping about a deal. That's not the case. There is no phone call that Donald Trump is constantly having. There is no line of communication. And that was caught in an interview he just did in Time magazine that the Chinese have responded to. And it is humiliating Donald Trump. Trump claims he's negotiating with China on trade. China says otherwise. President Trump says, we're meeting with China on tariffs, comments aimed at soothing jittery financial markets, but Chinese officials say no talks have taken place. Donald Trump, whose trade war with China has rattled financial markets and threatened to disrupt huge swaths of trade, suggested on Friday that he has been in touch with Xi Jinping, China's president, even as Chinese officials insisted that no negotiations were occurring. In an interview with Time magazine on Tuesday, Trump said Mr. Xi had called him, though he declined to say when, and asserted that his teams were in talks with China on a trade deal. Asked about the interview outside the White House on Friday morning, the president reiterated that he had spoken with the president numerous times, but he refused to answer when pressed on whether any call had happened after he imposed tariffs this month. Mr. Trump's comments appeared aimed at creating the impression of progress with China to soothe jittery financial markets, which have fallen amid signs that the world's largest economies are in a standoff. The S&P 500 is down 10% since Donald Trump took office, but the president's claims of talks over the phone have been rejected by Chinese officials who have repeatedly denied this week they are actively negotiating with the United States. China and the U.S. have not held consultations or negotiations on the issues of tariffs, the spokesperson for China's foreign ministry said in a news conference on Friday. The United States should not confuse the public. Chinese officials have repeatedly said the United States should stop threatening China and engage in dialogue on the basis of equality and respect. On Thursday, a spokesperson for China's Commerce Ministry said there were no economic and trade negotiations between China and the United States. Any claims about progress in China and the United States economic and trade negotiations are baseless rumors without factual evidence, he said. The Chinese embassy in Washington declined to comment on Friday. So there was no call. There has never been a call, and I don't know if there will be a call. Donald Trump, what a shock, is lying. And why is he lying? Because he knows how bad things are. He may be stupid, but he does understand when his poll numbers look like that and the S&P 500 looks like that. Maybe he should try to change things. Now, obviously, he's not going to change his tariffs because, as we said a few seconds ago, he is stupid, but he is certainly going to try and lie. That is what we are seeing from conservative media right now, pushing these lies on behalf of Donald Trump. But it's not just on his economic failure, it's his immigration failures as well. And Jessica Tarlov called out some of those lies in this clip right here.
With all due respect, this whole argument about these Venezuelan gang members or people who say they aren't in a gang, but they've got MS-13 in code on their knuckles. To say that, well, whatever it, okay, well, not everybody. You've also sat here and argued against using tattoos to say if someone's a member of MS-13. So anyone who has a tie to MS-13 or the government suspects of it, if you tell me that they deserve due process, I tell you that I know Laken Riley's dad, and I would go out and kick every one of them out of this country just because of Laken Riley. So when Frederica Wilson said something like more people are getting rolled up because of Laken Riley, you're damn right they are. Because this whole country saw what happened to Laken Riley. And we said, hell no. And then that act was passed by Congress that we voted in and signed into law by a president that we voted in. And if not being for due process for illegal immigrants that come here and commit crime makes me a bad American, okay, well, at least I'm still American, and that's a hell of a lot more than they are.
But conservative juggernauts like Antonin Scalia have spoken about the fact that people who are here undocumented deserve due process.
It's so crazy how conservatives are so willing to just move the goalpost whenever they're talking. And the Fox host saying, well, he had those MS-13 tattoos. And Jessica Tarlov says, like, this is crazy. No, he didn't. That was an edited photo. And then the host says, well, it doesn't even matter. Well, does it matter or doesn't it? You're not making any sense. But what's very clear is that Donald Trump doesn't care about the right or the wrong or the truth or the lies or what's even legal at this point. And that was made even clearer in that insane Time magazine interview, which we heard more about from the guy who spoke to Trump on that very issue of immigration right here.
Magazine released a rare long-form interview with President Trump marking his first 100 days in office. There is news on several fronts, including surrounding Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Remember, the Supreme Court ordered the administration to facilitate his return to the United States. National political reporter for Time magazine, Eric Cortellessa, writes, asked if he had requested Bukele, that's the president of El Salvador, to return Abrego Garcia over, Trump said he hadn't. I haven't been asked to ask him by my attorneys, he says. Nobody asked me to ask him that question except you. As for the political outcry over his refusal to return a man mistakenly sent to a foreign prison without due process, Trump says he believed it will accrue to his advantage. Quote, I think this is another men in women's sports thing for the Democrats. With me now is Time magazine national political reporter Eric Cortellessa. Really enjoyed reading through the transcript of the entire interview this morning, Eric, so congratulations on that. That little part that we just read right there, the president flat out admitting that he hasn't asked El Salvador for Abrego Garcia back, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was very noteworthy in the interview. You know, we started that sequence basically asking him about, his commitment to complying with court orders. When I interviewed President Trump a year ago in April of 2024, he said he would always comply with Supreme Court orders. And then I said, well, look, the Supreme Court just ruled 9-0 that you have to bring this guy back. Why haven't you? And his answer was that his lawyers read the ruling differently, that it did not order him to bring back Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I then read, from the ruling saying that the order required him to facilitate his release. And when I asked, have you asked President Bukele of El Salvador whether you would bring him back? He said that he hadn't, that his lawyers didn't tell him he had to, and that nobody had even asked him that except for me. I did get the sense that President Trump was following the advice of lawyers on his answers to this question.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing you're the first person to raise the possibility with him, even though I do agree it's a great question on your part, but I have to believe other people have suggested it was at least a possibility. Another part here that was fascinating.
You cannot trust a single thing that Donald Trump is saying about Kilmar Abrego Garcia or his immigration plan at large. He is willing to lie about all of this. I would not believe any of what is being said. It is just clear that our president is acting in the stupidest way possible to consolidate as much power as possible. Those are his focuses. And we are calling that out every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.